Now we'll get to our first film, Manchester by the Sea. We're going to hear from Casey Affleck, Michelle Williams, and the director Kenneth Lonergan after this clip.
I don't understand.
Which part are you having trouble with?
Well, I can't be his guardian.
Well,
I can't.
well, naturally, I assumed Joe had discussed all this with you.
No, he didn't.
So I have to say I'm somewhat taken aback.
He can't live with me. I live in one room.
Well, but Joe has provided for Patrick's upkeep. Food, clothes, etc. And the house and the boat are owned outright.
I can't commute from Boston every day until he turns 18. What about my Uncle Donnie and Aunt Teresa?
Joe didn't feel that Patrick really had any special relationship or feeling about them. And now, as I think you know, they've moved out to Wisconsin, I believe.
Minnesota.
It was my impression that you'd spent a lot of time here over the years.
I was just a backup. It was supposed to be Donnie. I'm just a backup.
I'm astonished that Joe didn't run this by you, thorough as he was.
Yeah, because he knew what I would say if he would have asked.
The best indication is like your own response the first time you read it. So when I read it, there were certain scenes that just moved me, and they always took me by surprise, which is what I love about how Kenny writes. You don't see them coming. It's not like conventional, obvious setup, like boy, finds a dog. Boy's not allowed to keep the dog. Boy keeps the dog. Dog dies. I mean, you can see it coming, and it's been used in a million movies. And even if you're not aware of it when you're watching it, you're aware of it sort of subconsciously, and so it doesn't have as much of an impact. But with Kenny's writing, I never really see the emotions coming. I'm sort of just following the story, and I'm laughing and listening to the characters and watching them fight, and then suddenly someone does something really compassionate or nice, kicks the door in and sits by someone and doesn't give up on them, and it moves you. And so those scenes I was aware of from when I read it. I thought that was a really important scene to me, and I want to remember why it was important to me the first time I read it, because I want to be able to capture that when I'm doing it and not get lost in the kind of messy maze of a disjointed shooting schedule.
Whatever seems like it's going to be the most impossible thing is invariably the thing that, for whatever reason, I get really excited about trying. I don't know why. I don't understand it exactly, because in the rest of my life I'm very safe and careful and don't like to take a lot of risks. But in my work, for some strange reason, I really the single most motivating factor is I have no idea how I'm going to do this. Working with Kenny, take me. I'm done. I'm full. I've had enough. Thank you so much. Now I'm good, because it's it really is a dream come true. I've been doing this for so long, and I've seen so many sort of ups and downs in my career, and so to have my professional life overlap with his professional life is intensely rewarding and intensely surprising.
I trust my ear, and I'm very interested in the way different people speak. I love being here because I can hear all the different accents and try to figure out where everyone's from and what they're like. And I think it's a source of endless fascination to me how someone's personality is expressed in their vocalization, and how the words people choose is so... It's indirectly expressive of what's going on with them and between two people, how easily their words flow, and which I'm choosing my words now in a certain way because I'm being interviewed. It would be different if I weren't, and I find that to be endlessly interesting.
Golden Globe winner Casey Affleck, Golden Globe nominated Michelle Williams, and I think Golden Globe nominated Kenneth Lonergan as well. Did pretty well. Didn't do too bad. Probably do pretty well at the Oscars as well. Talking about Manchester by the Sea, and this isn't Manchester.
Yeah. I was about to preface that saying it's not actually...
It's Manchester.
It's not living at large. It's it's a different Manchester.
Sorry, Mancunians who were offended by that joke. This is Manchester in Boston. Well, Massachusetts, but near Boston. Anyway.
Yeah.
What's the film about, Ryan?
Well, it's a film directed by writer-director Kenneth Lonergan, who's he's mainly a fan of sort of smaller, character-driven dramas. Mm-hmm. And in this film, Casey Affleck is the younger brother of a character called Joe, who's played by Kyle Chandler. He finds out that his brother has died, and that means he has to go to Manchester in Boston, where he finds out that he is to be the guardian of...
The Guardian.
The
Guardian.
His nephew Patrick, who's played by Lucas Hedges in a really good breakout role. Lucas Hedges, and he with sort of his reluctance to to move there full time, and while Lucas has still got all of his friends and family and 2 girlfriends on the go, and it's sort of the struggle between realizing what he wants to do now, while Lucas still has his own desires to stay in Manchester, and it's the sort of new guardianship that he finds, and it's really.
Before you go on, can I just say that one of the girlfriends was Last from the Moonrise Kingdom. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's the redhead. She's Cara Hayward, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the girl from Moonrise Kingdom. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting this to be a sort of an emotional battering ram.
Well, I've heard from a lot of people who'd seen it before us, because it's been shown at various previous things, that it's a real bummer. Like, I've heard from a lot of people that it's very depressing and very sad. I found it to be on the contrary.
That's what I was worried of. I thought this was going to be like a non-stop, just emotional knife to the gut constantly. I thought this was going to be a bit of a slog in terms of just how much misery you could put on, because this seemed like a story that would be set up to be really, really sad. But it's not.
No, it's not.
It's surprisingly warm and funny. I mean, as Lee, who's Casey Affleck's character, comes back to Manchester, it's a place where there's a lot of trauma. Mm-hmm. There is one inciting emotional incident which we can't talk about for sake of dramatic.
There's a reason why he doesn't want to come back to Manchester. There's a reason why, but there's also his ex-wife Randy's there as well, who's got a new wife. That's a new husband. Randy as in R-A-N-D-I, not like Randy as in Randy Orton.
Randy.
Yeah. But yeah, Randy, who's moved on with her life. That's Michelle Williams. Yeah. She's got her own life. So there's a lot of emotional trauma, not just with the incident, but also relationship-wise. And you can see why he doesn't want to stick there. But it's sort of a lot of the driving scenes, and the trailer sells this, a lot of the driving scenes within the film are how he realises what his responsibility is to his nephew as his new guardian. And the fact that you can see him grow as a character and realise, because Lee as a character is a really inherently interesting character. I saw like a lot of, I think you don't see characters as honest as this in quite a lot of films. Like, I think he's a character that is very real in the terms that he's been through this trauma and he's just sort of getting on with it.
And he's not. It's like, everyone expects you to be this perfect person after you've lost something, and there's numerous times when he's kind of expected to cope, but instead goes to a bar and fights somebody just because they've looked at him the wrong way. Yeah. And obviously he's got this like sort of trauma hanging over him, which makes all this situation even harder. And I think Affleck sells that really well. That kind of hard shell, but inside, completely, devastated by what's happened to him and what is still happening to him.
It's sensitive.
What a sad life he has. Yeah,
I think that's the word to say.
Very sensitive.
Yeah, I think just it's just the fact that it's never good. I mean, you've got these characters who are put into this impossible situation. You've got Patrick, who is a 16-year-old. He's a spirited 16-year-old with lots and lots of things happening in his life.
He's on all sorts of sports teams. He's in bands. He's got 2 girlfriends.
The cream of the crop. And then you've got Lee, who's coming in, they're both joined by the loss of his brother, of Patrick's father, and they have no idea what to do now in this world without him. And I think it is just refreshing to see something that is so simple as this man has died by a disease that can't be prevented, and now these people have to see what life is like without him, and they have to move on without him. And I think that's a really, really, I think this could have been very Oscar baity.
Yes.
In the wrong hands, absolutely.
Well, it's a Sundance film, isn't it? This kind of got a lot of traction from Sundance. It was picked up by Amazon for a lot of money, and everyone kind of went, wow. That was like one of Amazon's big first purchases. Yeah. And it cost them a lot of money. Oscar bait, he definitely could have been, but it never has that, does it? It does feel very true and very sensitive, as you said. Yeah. But and it's just I think that's just sort of an indictment on the film as itself, because it is a film that has no real sort of gravitas to it in the terms of the closure. It is a film without closure. It's a film that shows just like life, there is no closure, because with his wife there is no closure, with situations there is no closure, but he has to face these situations anyway. And I think it's a film that deals with sort of the rage and the grief that loss and the situations these characters are thrown into is shown. And I think that's it makes them really, really, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some devastating scenes, but it gives you some warmth within there, and I think that's what I was really happy with. There's some really dry wit with the the banter between Patrick and Lee that they have, and it's a really human film, and that's why I really admire it, and I really, really enjoyed this. I agree. Yeah, I just picking up on Joe's little bit of Boston there. Like, it's just funny to see people from Boston argue and see them like quip with each other.
We shouldn't say that.
No. It's just I don't know if it's the writing or the delivery, or I mean, Lucas Hedges is fantastic. He's been nominated for the BAFTA Rising Star Award, which is quite annoying because he's up against Leia Costa, who is Victoria in Victoria. So kind of I don't know what to choose, but because that's the one you can choose choose yourself. If you go online, you can choose that for yourself. But he's great. Like he plays it with a lot of maturity. I think again, like sort of to tie him with the character, people expect you to be very mature in this kind of situation. And there's the scene where, because the scene that the brother's been kept in a freezer, isn't he? Because the lot that they want to bury him in isn't ready yet.
Yeah.
So they're keeping him in a freezer, and he's totally against that. And there's one time when he actually goes to a freezer and gets something out, and just sort of has this big breakdown. That's kind of the first part in the film where he really starts to like crack under the pressure of the grief.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of, like Lee, managed to keep it under this hard shell for so long, but when it kind of breaks open, it kind of all comes spilling out. And I think that he plays all sides of that kind of grief incredibly well. It certainly doesn't feel like some kind of tacky stages of grief kind of film.
No.
It doesn't have those kind of conforming chapters. It just kind of flows as it would.
See, that's what I was quite worried about. I was worried that it would have been sort of like overstated in that fact that it would be like, oh, look how emotional this is getting, with the music swelling and that kind of thing. I was worried it was going to do that, but the fact that the director he lingers on the situations and he lets them unfold naturally, and I think that's to great credit for the film, because you really do get to see these actors act in a way that is so human. And I like the incident that we can't see.
No,
it just happens so suddenly.
Because the film sort of like it flits back between the present and the past, doesn't it? So you see Lee, and when he's kind of happy, then something happens, and then it kind of reverts to. But again, it follows both sides of the story along each other. And there's the scene when Lee finds out that he's going to become Patrick's guardian, when it cuts between that and the inciting incident. And that's particularly powerful. I think that was kind of the one moment where I actually thought like I was going to cry. But I didn't actually. I was surprised by that.
But yeah, I think just the refreshing honesty in the actors and the script just gives it a real heart and a power which it could have been easily misplaced. And I think that just it makes it a really just a really positive watch just for your soul.
Yeah.
I think I was sort of nonplussed by the ending when I saw it like from the first sight, but you realise that's sort of the point.
It stays true to the honesty of the film.
Yeah,
I think anything else would have betrayed the film. On a technical level, we've kind of said a lot about the sort of the morals and the script of the film, but I think on a technical level, the movement of the camera, how subtle and slow it is, often staying completely still.
Yeah.
I always think of Roy Anderson when I see these kind of films, when the camera just sort of stays against the back wall.
Very patient.
And just watches everything unfold. Occasionally you'll get like a sort of jump a bit closer into the scene. Like I saw that quite a lot when the camera would stay still, but it would just sort of jump forward a bit and just get a bit tighter on Lee, for example. Those kind of little subtle things just sort of made the film even better. There's no like sort of really jarring camera movements that just sort of like totally fly you out of the thing. It's just sort of like patient. It's just like a sort of very patient, natural film. Oh, it's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really lovely film.
For a film about like grief, and it's not like mawkish or
dour.
Yeah, it doesn't like sort of poke you and prod you to cry like a Monster Calls did. That's what I dig at a Monster Calls. I still like that
it's
film.
Very
I'm just saying
different.
It didn't sort of prod you and say cry, go on.
It doesn't hold up a sign saying cry now.
No, there's no laugh track.
Not cry.
No woman, no cry.
That's Manchester by the Sea. The good news is, well, first of all, it's been shut the Tyneside this week, but it's been sort of like mysteriously missing from other cinemas. It is kind of opening everywhere this week, so you get your chance to see it. Presumably because it's done so well, I'd imagine, at all these independent cinemas, that it's your chance to see it if you're in Sunderland and you can't be bothered to get the Metro, which is disappointing because the Tyneside is wonderful. We had somebody this week, I had Dan, didn't he? He hadn't been before. Dan, who was on the show a few weeks ago, hadn't been to Tyneside before, went to see Train Spotting, and he was like, it was his favourite place he'd ever been to in the world.
To see La La Land again.
No.
Fantastic. So if you've seen Manchester by the Sea, please do get in touch. All the usual places. I mean, you could be the first one. Tweet us in at LRJ Film Show.
Send us a letter.
Facebook.com/LRJ Film Show as well. And you can email liam.milburn@